SUI just blasted onto the crypto charts with sub-second speeds and brand deals, and by the end of this video, you'll know why many people believe it's on a one-way trip to the moon. I'm Brett at CryptoGX, and in this video, we'll cover what SUI is as a layer 1 blockchain, how its secure move smart contract language works, the booming DeFi scene, plus we'll hit how it fits into games and NFTs, as well as other things like headline partnerships like Phantom's 15 million user wallet and a virtual SUI Mastercard for real-world spending, as well as the backstory on the $220 million Cetus hack and the swift recovery after, and finally why our research still points to a bullish price outlook for SUI. All right, let's break down what SUI actually is. So SUI is a layer 1 blockchain built by ex-Meta engineers at Miston Labs. It runs on proof of stake, which I've talked about in many other videos, so make sure to subscribe for more detail on that. But essentially this means that people lock or stake their SUI coins to help secure the network, and then they earn rewards for doing so. Every transaction on SUI is written in something called Move. This is a secure coding language that blocks common attacks and treats tokens as objects. Because of this object design, unrelated actions happen at the same time. This is called parallel execution, instead of lining up one by one, essentially having one transaction after another. This parallel execution is the innovative aspect that SUI has that's different from other blockchains. So what's the point of this parallel execution? What is it actually doing? Well, in tests, an 8-core laptop, which isn't crazy big powerful laptop or anything, it was able to push SUI to 120,000 transactions per second with sub-second finality. Speed is the name of the game when it comes to scaling more and more transactions, and what is kind of the big poignant issue with blockchain technology in general, because if you want the entire world to be running transactions, you're going to have to be running a lot of them. Speed on SUI comes from the twin consensus engines, Narwhal, which is data sharing, and Bullshark, which is final ordering, and these keep these transactions moving fair and fast. The network caps the supply at 10 billion SUI, and staking rewards are already counted inside that limit. In short, SUI aims to stay fast, safe, and easy for any app or user who wants to join this network. So now that you know the basics, let's zoom in on the kind of nuts and bolts that make SUI different. SUI keeps everything in objects, as we mentioned before, but it splits them into single owner and shared groups. Single owner actions can skip global voting and finish almost instantly, while shared objects still reach a network-wide agreement for safety. Now, as you can see from this blog post on the SUI website, if you wanted a little bit more detail on the assets itself, shared versus single, shared ownership means that multiple accounts must authenticate a transaction that changes data values related to an object. It basically just means that there are multiple points of verification for different types of objects. Now, behind the scenes, we have to look at the validators. And validators, if you're familiar from the Ethereum blockchain, are a node that is running the proof of stake algorithm. These validators hold something called a directed acyclic graph mempool, or a DAG mempool. This is called Narwhal, as we talked before. This basically gossips data at the network speed instead of queuing it block by block. Now, essentially what this means is that typical blockchains will line up transactions one after another into a block, and then that block will be processed after the previous block. This particular process is changing the way that the data is moved around in, to simplify, a much more complex way that makes it more efficient over time. It doesn't necessarily have to put things all in order. It processes it based on its own logic of what should go where. Now, this is where the second engine named Bullshark comes in. It snaps all those pieces from the DAG or DAG into an ordered list, fixing the fairness and memory issues seen in the previous system to make sure the order goes in a nice, even, and efficient flow. Now, because reading and writing objects can occur on different parts of a computer, on different CPU cores, the SUI lab tested a 100,000 plus transactions per second with finality under 0.5 seconds. And this was on a setup of about 100 validators. Now, as you can see here on the blog from SUI, there's kind of a range of 10,000 transactions per second to nearly 300 transactions per second. And as a comparison, you can see that the current transactions per second on Ethereum are about 17 transactions per second, and the max we've seen is 62.34 transactions per second. And even the theoretical max for Ethereum is 119 transactions per second at the moment. Now, obviously, we don't want to just check Ethereum. Solana is another really popular chain with high transaction speeds. The max theoretical, though, right now is 65,000. Max actual is just about 3,000, and the real-time transactions per second right now is about 1,300. Obviously, transactions per second is pretty impressive at the moment, but the interesting thing is that if you add more hardware for the SUI layer 1 blockchain, the throughput rises almost linearly as a style called horizontal scalability. Essentially what that means is if you increase the hardware that is running the blockchain, then you increase the transactions per second. Mistin Labs, the developer of SUI, is even prototyping something called Pilotfish. This is a multi-threaded executor that should lift the limits of SUI further by letting each validator scale on their own terms. Now, aside from transactions per second and the scale at which they can perform, they're also rethinking the fees with something called a storage fund. Now, you can see information about this on the blockberry.1 website with the SUI documents. And basically what it's saying is that you pay once you store an object on the blockchain, but you delete it later on, and then part of that fee comes back to you as a rebate. In general, this is keeping long-term costs low and discouraging chain bloat. Now, finally, SUI's object model lets developers build rich assets on their platform. Think about game characters that level up without outside databases. All of this is thanks to Move's strong tape system and flexible object fields. Put this all together, and these design choices really target one big goal, which is to stay fast even as millions of users pile on. And as you can see here on this Cointelegraph article, if we scroll down a bit, a lot of what they're looking at is, things like NFT handling and the comparisons, with SUI and Ethereum. And that just speaks to the applications that this particular blockchain will be able to handle and how that might stack up against big smart contract chains like Ethereum. So now that I've shown you how SUI really stays fast, let's look at what people are actually doing on this chain. So DeFi, or decentralized finance, is first. This is huge in the crypto space. And if we take a look at the DeFi Llama page right here and the dashboard for SUI, you can see that the total value locked in DeFi for SUI is $1.742 billion. This jumped up about 41% in April of 2025, putting the chain in the global top 10. Now, SUI has a decentralized exchange called Cetus, and they cleared over $5 billion in trades in both April and May before a short halt, proving that they have real demand. You can see that on this Cointelegraph article right down here, over $5 billion in April and in May. People building on SUI also pushed out new stablecoins. The total stablecoin supply on SUI is up roughly 190% this year, showing very deep liquidity. And as you can see right here on DeFi Llama, it's at $1.096 billion. And this is the graph for the growth right here. It was at about $373 million in January of 2025. Now, access also keeps getting easier for SUI. If you're familiar with Solana, I'm sure you're familiar with the Phantom wallet, and they just plugged SUI into its 15 million user app. So sending or staking SUI now just takes 2 little taps. Ledger Live also followed with support for clear signing for hardware level safety. Basically, SUI is being supported on hardware wallets now. And on the fun side, the Telegram game BIRDS has grown to 9 million players, logging 24 million on-chain actions and minting 1.3 million NFTs. And this is all powered by SUI and its low fees. Now with that, developers are doubling down. Playtron is rolling out something called Game Dollar. It's a gaming stablecoin plus the SuiPlay0x1 handheld console. Both were revealed at SUI Basecamp. Even global brands are jumping in. Adidas dropped 2,600 mystery box NFTs with X Society, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but this was on SUI last month. With all this popularity, in short, finance, games, and collectibles are all really exploding on this very, very fast chain, proving SUI's tech translate into real world transactions. So all of these things that we talked about, or a lot of them that are software applications, are called dApps because they're decentralized applications. And these SUI dApps got very big, very fast, and so fast that major tech and finance brands are racing to kind of plug in as well. Now, obviously Adidas is a very big brand, but when it comes to payments now, payments hit the real world with SUI when Xportal and Xmoney launched a virtual SUI Mastercard, and it accepts 20,000 plus European stores. With this, you can send crypto in a single tap. On the back end, SUI teamed up with Google Cloud for live data feeds and AI tools, giving developers Web 2 grade speed without losing the decentralization on the SUI network. And big money has followed all of this as well. The Nasdaq just filed to list the 21 shares SUI ETF. And if you're not familiar, an ETF is an exchange traded fund that lets stock investors buy SUI through normal brokerage accounts rather than actually buying the actual currency itself or the actual token itself. And this has kicked off an SEC review and things are looking good. So with wallets, hardware payments, cloud, and Wall Street all on board, SUI's rails are really set for the next wave of users and capital. So with all these big names being plugged in, SUI's numbers really speak for themselves. The token now trades near 275, as you can see here on coinmarketcap.com, with a daily volume volume of over $1 billion, and it sits at about a $9.3 billion market cap. This puts SUI ranking at the number 13 coin in all of crypto. So as we know, crypto spiked a lot from November through about January of 2025, and then kind of tapered off down through March and April, and now is seeing a rebound. And SUI has rebounded a bit from its lows of about $2. It went up to about $3.60. Now we're in a little bit of a lull again. Lots of things are happening politically, but in general, you can see kind of an uptrend still with SUI. As long as we see things kind of turn around again, it will maintain this bottom trend here. Traders really took notice in April when SUI led the CoinDesk 20 index with double-digit daily gains, outpacing Bitcoin and most altcoins. The spotlight grew even brighter on June 10th when the Nasdaq said that they filed to list the 21 shares SUI ETF that I mentioned before. And with all of this in mind, the bigger liquidity, the rising TVL, and the pending ETF really keep fueling the bullish buzz around SUI's market outlook. But with all of these great developments and great attention, it's not all smooth sailing, and we've got to talk about some of the risks involved. In May, SUI's top DEX, Cetus, as I mentioned before, was hacked for $220 million. And yet, validators froze $162 million within hours, and the community voted to return it to its users. Basically, this was a quick hack the hacker comeback. Now, on top of this, November of 2024, a software bug stopped the chain for about 2 hours. However, engineers patched it and brought the network back online that same morning, showing that they had very solid crisis aversion skills and basically ability to fix problems as they come up very quickly. And lastly, way earlier in October of 2023, South Korean officials claimed SUI's supply was being secretly inflated. The SUI Foundation published wallet data and called that report materially false, and the market later stabilized. These bumps basically just prove that SUI moves fast, but its team and voters move even faster to fix problems and keep on building. So what does all of this mean? How do we really distill all of this information? Well, SUI's bounce backs aren't just luck. They're proof that this chain can take a hit and then keep leveling up. As we mentioned before, validators froze $162 million in value in minutes after the $220 million Cetus exploit, basically letting users get most of their funds back. Even after all of that drama, SUI's DeFi deposits pushed to about $1.9 billion in TVL, which is the top 10 of all crypto. And even Wall Street and big businesses have noticed. We talked about all the partnerships, as well as the Nasdaq filing the ETF, which is a huge thing for SUI that's going to propel lots of money into it. Now, with all of this, my take, with real adoption, rapid fixes, and the ETF on deck, SUI isn't just another altcoin. It's really set to lead the next wave. And while this is not financial advice, I'm absolutely going to be putting SUI at least a little bit into my portfolio because of all the great things that have been going on with it and their ability to fix the issues that are going on, or really just point out that the issues that they've had were not really big issues. So if you're interested in SUI or other crypto that you want to put in your portfolio, I put links in the description for Coinbase and crypto.com, where you'll get $50 in crypto just for signing up with those links. And if you want to get into meme coins, I also left a link to MoonShot where you can claim some free meme coins when you sign up with that link as well. If you learned something new or just enjoyed the video, make sure to hit the like button and hit subscribe if you want to stay tuned for all things crypto. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.